Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I have a very interesting broadcast today. There is definitely a shift in the atmosphere. Something is happening in the world. I don't know if you all are paying attention like you should. I don't know if you all are lining things up with biblical text, but something is going on. Something major. We're going to get into it. Thank you all in advance, those of you who will be joining me live. For those of you who are going to be joining me live, I would ask that you would go ahead and share this broadcast link with others so that you can join in on the conversation. This is going to be all the way live. This is going to be very interesting, a very interesting topic that we are going to be sharing. Please do. I'm going to do like everyone else, smash the like button, okay? Smash the like. If you know already that you're going to like the topic, smash it up because all kinds of things are being shared on YouTube, on the internet, right? Some of it ain't even worth listening to, but we listen anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share it, hoping that you would do the same. And then I'm going to get right into this very important topic. I tend to pay attention to a lot of things that are happening in and around the world. We can't afford not to pay attention. Some major moves are being made, and folk are thinking some things and saying some things and planning some things. But, you know, as man plans, so does the Most High. Man can plan, but the Most High already has the stage set for exactly what he wants to take place. So I am sharing the link. It is shared, and now we are going to dive into this topic, family. We're going to dive in. Well, you see the title there. You see the title. This is some interesting stuff, family. Of course, with anything that is going on, you definitely have to stay prayed up because the enemy, when he gets busy, he likes to get down and dirty too. We all know that. The enemy likes to get dirty. Look at our topic here. I want to share a video clip with you where the president of France, Macron, he actually says that Europe is dying. He says Europe is dying. Okay? But then you have the military man on the right there who says, we must recolonize Africa. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Now, of course, you know I'm buffering right there. So because you're dying, the solution to your problem, you think, is to go take from others. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Because we're dying, you know, we got to recolonize Africa. Some people are a real piece of work. A real piece of work. I'm going to try my best not to get as hyper as I was yesterday when I was talking about a similar topic. But it really makes you think. You say to yourself, folk or something else. It's like you can't see that we see and know what you're up to. And you can give every wicked reason you want to as to why you think it's best to recolonize Africa. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's get into this stuff. Let's get into it. So first of all, I'm going to let you all hear what Macron himself said. Take a listen at this. It's very brief. Listen to what the president of France had to say. So of course he speaks French, but they are going to be translating for him. So take a listen.
Paul Valéry said at the end of the First World War that we knew from now that our civilizations were mortal. We have to be clear about the fact that our Europe today is mortal. It could die. It could die, and that depends solely on our choices. We must continue to have partnerships with other countries. Yes, meaning building a Europe that can show that it is never the vassal of the United States of America, and it also knows how to speak to all regions in the world, to emerging countries, to Africa, Latin America.
So it sounds like somebody is scared out of their wits. It seems like they're getting a little nervous right now because you got one who's pointing out the obvious. Europe is dying. And just to, go more into what he said, let me just pull that up for you guys. So he sees the handwriting on the wall. He says, Europe must escape. Y'all see that? It must escape itself. Its self-imposed naivety, or face the risk of dying. Now notice he says self-imposed naivety. In other words, look, we being naive, y'all. Who are we kidding at this point? Who are we kidding? Europe risks dying and faces big decisions. So it makes you wonder if those big decisions means we've got to recolonize Africa because we are dying. We need solutions. So you have the president saying we're dying and we face big decisions. And you have the military man saying we've got to recolonize Africa. Ain't that something? It says Europe must escape from its self-imposed naivety or face the risk of dying. That was the stark warning at the heart of a major speech on the EU by French President Emmanuel Macron. Over 2 hours in the historic auditorium of Sorbonne University, the French president said Europe must react fast if it is to survive in a changing world. We need to be lucid and recognize that our Europe is mortal. It can die. It all depends on the choices we make. And those choices need to be made now, he said. Now, Mr. Macron's speech was billed as the follow-up to the landmark 2017 Sorbonne speech when, not long after taking office, he first urged the European Union to move towards greater self-sufficiency in defense of the economy. Coming just a few weeks before European elections, the speech was also being seen as a bid to reinvigorate the lackluster campaign of its Renaissance Party. So, stepping away from the article for a moment, so that sounds like some desperado to me. They are very desperate. So you have the president saying that we need solutions and we need them now. They need them now. He said they need to act fast. This is what he said. This is what the man said, y'all. They need solutions now and they need to act fast. So, let me show you this. I want to show you something else. Show you what's going on here. So, while the president is talking about that, it says, when the journalist asked Captain Ibrahim Traoré about the former chief of staff in the French army, General Francois Lecointor, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I don't even care at this point. But anyway, he says, who stated that that Europe must come back to occupy Africa with armies, meaning recolonization. Now, Captain Ibrahim, this is how he responded. He said, they are preparing their people to accept when they decide to recolonize Africa. See, they don't like him. He's one of the youngest leaders in Africa right now. They don't like him. They don't like none of us, but you know what I mean. They don't like him because he is reading them very well. So this dude right here on the right, he thinks that because you're having problems in Europe that you have a right to come and recolonize? What makes you think you have that right to come and recolonize because you're having problems? See, that's what happened all over the planet, y'all. That's what happened all over the planet. They felt that they had a right to recolonize because they are having problems. They felt that they had a right to come and take over America because they were having problems. They feel like they had a right to take over South America because they are having problems where they are. Even the Chinese, they got some stuff going on over there, so they want to move their behinds to Africa too, and tell the Africans, no, you can't come into our place of business. Thank you, Yeshai, for the super chat. I really appreciate it, beloved. Stella White said, look at those empty demons. Empty yet occupied, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean, y'all? When I say occupied. Empty of something, but occupied by something else. It is what it is. The truth is what it is. And folk being occupied come in different shapes, colors, and sizes. Different racial groups, too. But yeah, those two occupied, especially the one on the right. Especially the one on the right. Is something sitting up in there that ain't of this realm, I'll tell you that much. It creeps into this realm and jumps inside of meat bags. Y'all understand what I'm saying? That's right, brother. Don P says legions. Very occupied. Absolutely. It amazes me what we are witnessing right now. Now, I want y'all to understand that I'm not sitting here gloating or anything like that. What I am doing is recognizing that the Most High is really, really moving. Things that we've seen prophesied and talked about are happening. There's always this talk of a desire to do something bad. Huh? Do something bad to Africans. But we see the Most High stepping in. Thank you, Brother Michael, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Dawn says, brothers and sisters, we have to pray and fast for his safety because we have seen what happened to leaders who stood up to them. They're deleted. Exactly. See, these folk don't play fair. And when other people talk about it, they have this weirdness. Like, why are you talking about our evil? What's so abnormal to a reprobate mind? I just answered my own question. If your mind is reprobate, is abnormal to you for somebody else to want to defend themselves against your reprobateness. And I know that's not a word. It is when I make it up, right? Oh my goodness. They believe that it's abnormal for someone to defend themselves against this type of rhetoric, this type of invasion, this type of evil. Now, what makes this guy, what makes the military man think that they have a right to recolonize Africa? What makes them think they have that right? They have no logical reasoning behind it. I remember years ago, the U.S. had the nerve to try to tell African countries, oh, you all better be careful dealing with China because they may not have your best interest at heart. And I said to myself, look at the cotton picking kettle calling the kettle, the skillet black or whatever it is. Look at the pot calling the kettle black. So you mean to tell me that you really care whether or not China is treating Africans properly? Do you really care? Oh, lying wonders of the world. Sister Deborah in the chat, she says, Book of Obadiah pillagers. Like I said the other day, I want to come from the Book of Obadiah. Someone else had mentioned something in the chat, and I said that's in my lineup of messages, but I don't want to just jump into it. I want to be able to break it all the way down. You see, because there are some things that are not understood by a whole lot of people. A whole lot of things that are not understood. And so that Book of Obadiah, Sister Deborah, it's coming. Yes. It's biblical prophecy. We are just reaffirming the word of the Most High. We are reaffirming the word of the Most High. Because things are happening so fast in this world that if you blink, you might miss something. You might miss something. Now, even though we know what is prophesied, we know full well what is prophesied, right? We know how the story ends. But it still trips you out when you see people who have the nerve to move in this world the way they do, even though the spotlight is on them at this point. And guess what spotlight I'm talking about? I'm not just talking about social media and the news, because they report what they want to report. Social media has allowed things to spread a lot faster. But the Most High is shining a spotlight. Let me tell you how he's shining that spotlight, y'all. Many of the things that have been prophesied in the Bible, they were able to kind of hide themselves behind certain things, stolen identities, rearranging things. Like we put in the first part, whited out part 1, when the woman said, let's just start renaming people and places and confuse them about their own African identity. Y'all remember that part in the whited out part 1? They actually speak these things out loud, right? They want there to be mass deception. But now people are talking about it. And now the judgments of the Most High is the spotlight that we are seeing. Remember how the Bible said that the curses that were spoken of in Deuteronomy chapter 28 were going to be the spotlight on us? That's pretty much what it said. The curses of Deuteronomy 28 were placed upon us. That was the spotlight. It says, this is how you're going to know my people. The curses are going to be on them as a sign. Thank you, Brother Michael. He says, I thank the Most High in heaven for leading me to this page. I had to humble myself and be retaught the truth from Christianity. Mind-blowing. Absolutely. Brother Michael, listen, I was a Christian for a good portion of my life. And I would like to think that I was a good Christian, but none of that matters at this point, does it? Because if I wasn't in right standing with him, it don't matter how much I did, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Now, many of the teachings of Christianity, folk have to understand that Christians pray. Ain't nothing wrong with prayer. Christians fast. Ain't nothing wrong with fasting. The doctrines of Christianity that we've moved away from are the obvious things that are in direct conflict against the Most High's word. Those are the things that we've moved away from. Thank you, Brother Mike, for the super chat. He says, Proverbs 28:28, when the wicked rise, men hide themselves, but when they perish, the righteous increase. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, back to this topic at hand. This is some very interesting stuff that is happening here. And I'm so grateful to the Most High that we are able to witness these things. Sometimes it is an encouragement to you to be able to witness things as they are happening. It is an encouragement. It is very much an encouragement. Thank you, Brother Don. He says, put the scripture in there. Lord, Lord, didn't we do all this stuff in your name, and in your name cast out devils? And he's going to say, depart from me. I never knew you. Those are the dreaded words. Depart from me. I never knew you. I pray for the Most High's mercy upon us. I pray for it. Brigantia in the chat says Russia knows what is about to happen. It's interesting that you should say that, Brigantia, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but I think about the fact that Russia is revealing these images of Hamashiach, the one who the world calls Jesus. It's also interesting to me that Russia, though the woman is basically beckoning, hey, black people, come to Russia. We don't have those same problems with you guys that all these other folk do. Come to Russia. Come to Russia. We will treat you good here. If anything, we'll just be curious. We'll be curious, because many of us have never actually seen a black person in person. We never have, but come here and you'll be all right. You know, now I'm not moving anywhere that the Most High hasn't told me to move to. But I think it's interesting that Russia is behaving the way they are. Also, there was the forgiveness of loans for Africans. I'm sorry, you all. I'm pulling up something that I want to talk about at another time concerning Russia. But I can't get into it today. I want to, speak on it at a different time. Okay, but it's very, very interesting the things that we see happening, and the West is trying to make sense of it, right? And in trying to make sense of it, I feel like they're just running scared right now. I feel like they're running scared because instinctively, they may know of biblical prophecy. Some of them may have even read some of the prophecies, if you know what I mean. Some of them may have even read some of that. And I know that's right. Nubian Queen says, black people stay out of Russia. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, okay, thanks for the invite, but we ain't moving nowhere that the Most High has not told us to move to. Thank you, praise Yah, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Del Monte says Russia wants a safe base like hide and seek. One thing I thought about with Russia, sometimes I wonder if, unconsciously these other nations know that if they have a certain number of the Most High's people around, that certain judgments won't touch down on them. I wonder about that. Because there are certain judgments that are coming for some of these other nations. And I feel like many of them want to keep us around for that because they're like, well, the Most High is not going to do this to them if we're near, right? But what if Russia was thinking, maybe we better get us a pack of them too? I don't mean to make it seem like we're some type of weird gang or something, but just to bring a little humor to it. Maybe they want a pack of us too so that they can get that safety net, Wow. You never know what's going on in these people's minds because Brigantia says Russia wants some spiritual protection, You never know what's going on in folks' head. All I know is that the West, they have certain things in their mind that they believe that they are able to do, but they don't understand that they can only move within what the Most High allows. Now, they have set out to do a lot of damage to us, and they have done a lot of damage to us. I am speaking the truth for any of you in the West who hears this. Look at the pages of, guess what, y'all? I can't even say look at the pages of history because they have rewritten it, didn't they? But some of it have creeped on out into the mainstream, even though you all have tried to hide it. We know what you have done. We know the atrocities that our people have had to endure and still endure. We know that you all want us to be quiet about it because it hurts your ears. Well, guess what? It hurts our minds, our thoughts, to even think about the fact that you all feel like you have a right to do these things and go unpunished, while at the same time screaming to the mountaintops, never again for this group or never again for that group. Memorializing things that have happened to you guys, but when we even talk about it, to even try to bring remembrance to it, all of a sudden, everybody want to shut it down and tell us to get over it. Brother Del Monte, thank you again for the super chat. He says, some of this stuff is pretty funny. If you were born corny and awkward, you want to start some mess too. So it's like with all that's happening, family, trying to stay spiritually grounded is going to be very, very important. Very, very important. Because when we see these things, we still have to pray our way through. But at the same time, not be ignorant of Satan's devices, lest he get an advantage over you. That's That's what we have to keep in mind. First time in the chat says your connection to the Most High Creator is first and foremost. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because our connection to the Most High is going to lead us and guide us in the paths of righteousness. Now, if the Most High leads us to go to Russia, that's where you go. If he leads you to go to Africa, that's where you go. If he leads you to go to China, that's where you go. Where he leads me, I will follow. But the bottom line is this: your connection to the Most High is going to guarantee that you land where he leads you and not where you want to go. You see, too many times we follow our own lead and we end up in a place that we're not supposed to be. So we've got to make sure that we are listening to the right voice, because the Most High says, my sheep hear my voice, and another they will not follow. Another they will not follow. I definitely want to make sure. That I am hearing the voice of the Most High. Things are heating up and getting quite frightening. It is what it is. But we don't have to fear one thing. We don't have to fear one thing. Because the word tells us, if Yah be for you, he is more than the world against you. Y'all hear that? More than the world against you. So they can sit back and plan. They can talk about what's happening in Europe. Oh, Europe is dying. Europe is dying. As the president said. But then the military man comes and he says, we must recolonize Africa. And I shared with you the other guy. There was another guy who was saying that, oh, we've got to go to war with Africa. For what? He mentioned that because they're gaining in technological advances and things of that nature. Nothing dealing with anything that we're doing to them. I heard that some of the military bases in Africa have been shut down, that some of these African leaders are telling them, pack your bags, get your stuff, and bounce out the door. Can you imagine if more African leaders would do that? If they would all collectively decide to work together and say, look, we ain't putting up with this garbage anymore. You all have strong-armed us too long enough. Brother Don P. Okay, did you leave the message in the live chat, brother? Okay. Let me see. There's so much is going on, family, that we definitely have to pay attention to what these folk are. We have to pay attention to what they're doing. Pay attention to what they are doing because... Okay, the military base in Niger. Okay. I did hear something about some military bases. Are you referring to some of the bases that are being shut down by African leaders? Because that's definitely a point of topic I would like to speak about, because I think they said it was more than one that is doing this. I'm not sure. I didn't check into the Niger story yet, but I heard that there were a couple of... so I'm going to check into the story. I just pulled it up, brother. I'm going to look at that and see what's going on with that. Definitely something I would like to speak about, just based on what I'm seeing so far in a separate topic. Oh my goodness. Moves are being made, family. Moves are being made. Thank you, Del Monte, again. He says, I want to know, will we be free? Will it be free reign to smack? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Brother, there are some things very, very specifically that the scripture talks about concerning what is going to happen when he makes his return. It kind of reminds me of when we did if you don't mind, brother, you can look at the lesson that we did on Ezekiel 37 when the Most High, the dry bones, is on the Watch Me Reports channel, but we speak about what the scripture says is going to take place. See, folk think that the dry bones is just simply talking about us waking up to our identity, but no, it's a lot more powerful than that. You know, the Most High have some very, very significant things planned for this whole world, right? He's going to handle things his way. We, on the other hand, we have to make sure that we are in obedience to his words, that we have repented of our deeds and, you know, all the things that we need to be doing so that we are on the right side of biblical prophecy when it takes place. But when you look at Ezekiel 37, it talks about the Most High's army. And look at other scripture that are talking about his army as well. You will see very clearly that there's definitely something on the horizon. Biblical prophecy, I'm telling you guys, it is unfolding. Let me look at this, this comment here. Okay. When you learn how to put the pieces together, family, the pieces of the puzzle, the pieces of the puzzle fit together very nicely. They fit together very nicely when you begin to study and connect the dots in Scripture, and you start to see things that are happening in the world. I definitely feel like there is some nervousness going on. There's some nervousness going on in the European nations. Thank you only for the super chat. I appreciate it. It says round the clock prayer is needed. Charity in the merit of our protection and protection of the African leaders on the right track. I definitely believe that the African leaders need to get on the right track because too many of them have willingly went along with the program. Some of them have bravely decided that they're going to do right. Thank you, Brother Steve, for the super chat. I appreciate it. But I feel like if the African leaders would work together instead of being so divided, like the one brother said, instead of fighting one another, if they can come together and put their heads together, they don't even have to worry about being recolonized by the West. Now, what I find interesting, and I'm not saying that we need to trust anybody, because the Bible tells us don't put your faith or your confidence in no man, right? But it really makes me wonder if Russia is letting the African nations know that very soon we're going to forgive a lot of debt, but our enemies in the West are your enemies too. And why not we and others come together and sit together to fight this common enemy? That's what it really makes me wonder if that's the thinking that Russia is having. Because I'm noticing a lot of these countries, and even with Macron, the president of France, even Macron said a statement. He made a statement that, you know, Europe is dying, and so they need to learn how to be independent of America, and that they need to learn how to talk with even Africa and Latin America. Why is Africa coming up in everybody's conversation? Coming up in everybody's conversation. Now all of a sudden y'all want to play with Africa now, But then it comes out in the wash that you don't want to play fair. Now some pretend like they want to play fair, but you can't trust people who you weren't able to trust before. People who colonized you before. Don't think for 1 minute that you can all of a sudden trust them. That's why it really bothered me when America a few years back had the nerve to tell African nations to be careful working with China. Oh, you better be careful working with them because blah, blah, blah. I said to myself, y'all got a bunch of nerve. A bunch of nerve. A real piece of work, I tell you. A real piece of work. How can you tell anybody, especially African nations, to be careful working with somebody else? As if you all have been the pillar of righteousness. As if you have some moral authority on the planet. Mm, mm, mm. No moral authority. You have been nothing but a thorn in the sides of melanated people for a very long time. For a very long time. So, right now, like that one guy Louis K said, y'all remember what Louis K said? He says, if you're not white, you're missing out. Because being white is surely better, or something like that. But Louis K, he had that little joke. He even said that he knows at one point they're going to have to pay for all of this. But then he came back and he said, but for now, we. So they know they got it made. Y'all understand what I'm saying? People know when they got it made. They just like to play dumb and pretend like we're just talking out of the side of our neck. Like we're talking gibberish. They know that we can see the privilege that they have. And they know they have privilege. They know they have it. But right now I'm seeing fear, because what is actually happening, if you really think about it, family, they know. This is why he said Europe is dying. He said Europe is dying. For those of you joining us late, I'll read to you something what he said again. The president of Europe, not the president of Europe, the president of France, I'm sorry, I apologize, that just one of many European nations, he said that they are dying. I'll show you what he said. All of these European countries are just, he says, Europe risks dying and facing big decisions. This is what the president of France says. Europe must escape from its self-imposed naivety or face the risk of dying. That was the stark warning at the heart of the major speech on the EU by French President Emmanuel Macron. He says we need to be lucid and recognize that our Europe is mortal. It can die. It all depends on the choices we make. And those choices need to be made now, he said. He said they need to be made now. Then he says the era when the EU bought its energy and fertilizers from Russia, outsourced its production in China, and depended on the U.S. for security, that era is over, he said. Right? He's to the point now, he's like, well, we can't keep depending on Russia because Russia is becoming increasingly an enemy. China is becoming decreasingly an enemy. And depending on the U.S. for security, he said that era is over. We can't, because America is losing its ground. So how can we depend on America when they are losing their ground? So they are frantically moving about, trying to figure out what is their next step. Okay, thank you, Sister Cassandra. I'm going to pull that link up on the side here and see if I can check into that one. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, these people are something else. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Okay, I'm looking at what Sister shared with me. But see, that's why this is why these folk got, this is why they got it coming. I'm looking at that. I probably won't even be able to share the image that you share, Sister Cassandra, because YouTube will flag it. But thank you for sharing that. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous how these people think they can do this. And Africa needs to get to the point where they just bounce these people right out the door. Don't even let them in. What Sister shared with me was an Asian man who was abusing Africans. Have you all ever wondered why these other nations, when I say other nations, I'm talking about anybody other than melanated nations, these other nations, Asian, white, Russian, just anyone that's different than us, you ever wonder why they think that they can put their hands on us? You ever wonder why? They think that they have a right to put their hands on us. That right there should tell you that there is something very significant happening in the world that is beyond what your eyes can see. This is a spiritual battle. It is. This is a very spiritual battle. And I know it's hard and difficult for some of you to understand that, because you may be saying to yourself, I don't see it that way because some of our people are evil too, and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that. But if you really were to unpack this and see what exactly is happening, how decrees have been set forth before the foundation of the world, they have been spoken, they have been written, prophesied about, talked about, and to see them happening, right? And then to even learn of the undoing. How do you undo it? How do you reverse the curse? Huh? This is a very spiritual battle that we are fighting. And when people try to oversimplify white and black, white versus black, they try to oversimplify it. They try to erase color. They try to erase color lines and say, no, this doesn't matter, that doesn't matter, while at the same time painting a false image of everything that they think matters, right? If you only understood the spirituality behind this stuff, if you only understood it. Thank you, Sister Yeshai, for dropping that Isaiah 14 verse 6. That's one of my if you haven't heard me go in on that passage before, I love that, the whole Isaiah 14th chapter, because yes, Isaiah 14:6 says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. I like it when they say the whole world gonna break forth into a dance when it's time for people to reap what they have sown. When folks start to reap what they have sown, the scripture tells us that the whole world is gonna break forth into a dance. The whole earth is gonna be quiet. It's gonna be quiet. The whole earth is gonna be quiet. That's a future prophecy, beloveds. It's a future prophecy. Because there has never been a moment where the whole earth was quiet. Because there has been wickedness for as long as we can remember. Wickedness. But that biblical prophecy that tells us, when it's all said and done, when the Most High redeems his people, it says the whole earth is going to be at rest and quiet and break forth with singing. Even the fir trees are going to rejoice, and the cedars and the Lebanons is going to be singing. Remember when I told you all the earth is bleeding and that it's groaning? The earth is groaning. So this passage tells you that the earth, that even the trees are going to be just so happy. They're going to be rejoicing. The trees are going to rejoice. I bet that is a sight to see. Now, why on earth would the trees rejoice? The trees are probably going to say, listen, okay, listen to this for a moment. It says, yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no fellow is come up against us. Woo! Oh my goodness. So are the trees telling us that they tired of being cut down? Is that what the trees are trying to tell us? Who goes around the planet cutting and digging and chopping down and doing all this stuff for their own benefit? Who does that? There's one thing if a tree dies, right? But it's like these trees, they're saying, look, oh, we rejoice at your name, Father. We rejoice at your name. We rejoice. It says, since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. That's amazing. They're going to be free from these. Oh my goodness. free from the wickedness of man. Ain't that something? You got folk that are just waxing rich, more and more rich, and they don't care that they're destroying the earth. They're destroying people. They're destroying nations, whole tribes being wiped out. They don't care about any of that. They are just happy to do the dirt that they are doing. Nature is going to rejoice when it is purged of the wickedness of mankind. Isn't that something? If we as a people could just get our minds together and right, if we can understand the demonic attack, I pray that the Most High really anoints me to be able to speak in a very effective way concerning the dark powers that have infiltrated black families and communities. I mean, it's one thing to talk about it, family, but I want it to be impactful so that you all understand. I want the Most High to open up the eyes of your understanding so that you can see the darkness that has tried to infiltrate, that has infiltrated, that's trying to destroy from within. This is why the scripture tells us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. It's letting us know that this battle that we think is with mankind is actually demonic forces that have been assigned to certain groups of people that govern these people's minds, thoughts, and actions to come against the children of the Most High Yah. In other words, they are occupied. They are occupied. So someone in the chat tells me black on black crime is an issue and you're helping them. Let me take a sip of water after that one. Not in the way they speak about it condescendingly, but it is. Okay, so black on black crime. Do some of you remember me talking about WOW crime and Bob crime? Any of y'all remember that? Bob and Wow? Bob and Wow. So you got folk who want to talk about Bob crime, but not Wow crime. So there's always this issue talking about Bob, but Wow gets a pass. Isn't that something? When you look up statistics, W on W crime is just as high as B on B. Okay? Just as high, if not worse. Especially since they don't even report everything going on in their communities. They don't report everything. Now, we definitely talk about B on B, but white on white crime. Thank you. Eno says, look, WOW is worldwide worse. Come on now. See, that was one of the things that I spoke about. I said you strategically try to get people to focus on the BOB because the WOW is worldwide. It is worldwide. So if you can get folk to focus on the petty B on B, neighborhood things, petty crimes, even some treacherous crimes. I mean, there are some terrible things happening in the so-called black community, and it is B on B. But if you can get folk to focus on that, they won't pay attention to what's happening when some of the W's go into African nations and wipe out thousands. Going into this region, wiping out thousands. Going into that region, thousands, millions, right? King Leopold, 10 million. And some say even 20 million. Some say 20 million were wiped out by the W's. But their goal is to get you to not only focus on B on B, not only that, but get this, y'all, help to instigate B on B. Why? How? Let's set the stage. We're going to set the stage, make things so raggedy in their communities where they're going to get to the point where they can't stand one another. They can't trust one another. There was a stage set for this, y'all. Of course, historically, we have had our problems. I'm not going to deny that. But because they studied us, it's easier to maneuver a people that you've studied because you know how certain things trigger them. So you're like, okay, all right. I want to make sure that they are divided. So we're going to use the old divide and conquer taught to us by Hashatan, the devil himself, Satan. We're going to utilize divide and conquer. And the best point of attack is to divide families. I was listening at some commentary where Thelma from Good Times, she was speaking about this new little garbage animation show that they have on Netflix. And she was talking about how Esther Roll and John Amos, back in the day when they were doing Good Times, that they were going back and forth with the white folk on the script writing. Because Esther Roll, she said, look, no, I want a husband. You ain't going to just make me a single mom. She says, because she's not from America. She is from, she's from one of the islands. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Bahamas, but don't quote me on that. But she's from one of the islands. She said, no, we don't need another sitcom with a single mom. She says, I need y'all to write me a husband. And she had a lot of clout, and so they wrote her a husband in, right? And then even some of the storylines that are in there, they said, look, we're going to take some part in this. You ain't going to just keep writing garbage in here, right? And so y'all know why they got rid of James? Because he was too challenging to them. So in reality, what they write in these movies is what they want for the black community. They want the women to remain single. They want the men to remain drug dealers. So they write it all in their scripts. It's like script writing on your brain. It's a form of meditation. I know that's not a real word, but it is on this channel. It's a form of meditation. Meditation. We will write the script. This is what we want. We want the young people selling drugs. We want the mother to be single, a single mom. We want the children to be poor and raggedy. We want them to be crime-ridden. Okay? We want everything in their lifestyle to be unlikable. Huh? Thank you, they made JJ stupid. Right? They put so many ignorant things in these, not just Good Times, but so many other shows, so many other movies. They write it into the script because they want to write it into your brain. Right? This is what they did. Thank you. They cloned Tyrone. Even though they may throw some truth into these things, they may throw some truth, but they throw so much ignorance in that to where it's swallowed up. The truth is swallowed up by the ignorance. Right? So this new ignorant Netflix version of Good Times, they got a baby selling drugs, a baby looking at a woman's breast talking about he wants some milk. Huh? You got a black Jesus sitting up in heaven playing video games. The phone rings. He talking about, what up? That stuff ticked me off, y'all. Because you know who writes this stuff. And then you got black actors who will sit back and let them, like someone said, there are some roles you can just turn down. Just turn it down. Make a stand on this foolishness. Because while they're using their media to destroy your brain, you got Europe planning to destroy Africa. That's what's going on. These are diversions they are creating. Let's create a diversion. Brother Yahudah, Neriyahu said Sanford and Son was another one. Exactly. Sister Carolyn said they want homosexuality and lesbianism as well to be promoted. Guess what else they're promoting big time? All of these deviant sexual lifestyles, but they're also promoting black men, go get yourself a white woman because the black woman is too loud. Right? They're promoting that as well. They're dangling out the carrot in front of you. They want you to chase it down while creating a narrative in your minds that this is the right decision. Not realizing that the battle is wrapped up, tied up, and tangled up in all of this. Yes, it is. Who you choose to marry is part of the battle, family. I have whole conversations that I can center around many of the things that I'm saying in this one video. This battle that we are in is very spiritual, but if you don't have the spiritual fortitude to look at what I'm saying, it will go right over your head. It boils down to even what you choose to eat. Huh? Because they putting stuff right in the food. They say, you know what? We need to get their minds so messed up to where they can't even see what we're doing. Huh? And Sister Sasha says Glorilla ain't making it no better. I'm just now starting to hear about this Glorilla person. I don't know anything about them at this point, but the name alone, Glorilla. Are we kidding at this point? Oh my goodness. The things that our people will do for money. For a woman to willingly call herself Glorilla is just, like Brigantia said, it's wild. This is some tripped out stuff. But again, I'm going to give you all the word. It gives us a directive. It says, be not ignorant of Satan's devices. Don't be ignorant. Don't ignore Satan's devices. Don't ignore them. Oh my goodness. Kiki says she saw her in person and she looked like a librarian. That's an act that she chose to play. Do y'all hear that? I've heard that too many times before. For the love of money. The Bible tells us the love of money is the root of all evil. Ain't that something? So I'm going to have to check in to see what this person is all about, because Kiki says she saw her in person and she looked like a librarian. I've heard some other groups from back in the day, back in the 90s, who said that the roles that they play in those videos, that they're nothing like that, that they're actually family-oriented type people, that they were doing that for money. And I said, man, oh man. But do you realize that when you choose to do these things, that you are infecting and affecting somebody else's family, somebody else's children? But then ultimately it falls on the parents, because if the parents allow their children to sit up and watch this garbage in the first place, there you have it. Yep. There you have it. That's what's going on. Emery says those girls are being exploited by Khazarian music industry. Absolutely. Absolutely. Recently I talked about the meeting that took place in the 90s, where they actually said it out loud again. We need them to be programmed with this music. We need them to make it as gangsta as possible. We need to make it as negative as possible. Why are we so easily manipulated by people outside of us? For the love of money. Why do we allow people outside of us to control us with money? And the thing that trips me out, I gotta say this. These other nations really aren't that rich at all. They're rich. Their wealth, should I say, their riches and their wealth are things that they steal from others. A lot of the raw materials, a lot of these demon corporations use to make their goods. Huh? Wow. Come from Africa. They come from Africa. A lot of wealth, true wealth, is in Africa. But that old divide and conquer thing is what took hold. Just like even with the cocoa. They talk about Swedish chocolate and Belgium chocolate and all this kind of stuff. There's no such thing. They get the raw materials from Africa. Africa produces these things. And these other countries, they take it and manufacture it and sell it back to the world. And give the African nations pennies on the dollar. Huh? That's what they do. Pennies on the dollar. They throw you some nickels and dimes. Isn't that something? Now Ghana, thank you, only says it's from Ghana. Ghana actually said that they wanted to be able to manufacture their own chocolate and sell. But how does the West, the wicked West, deal with that kind of stuff? They said, well, we'll just put a sanction on you. We'll accuse you of child labor. And I say to myself, these people are a real piece of work. Child labor, huh? You got to really pray yourself through this kind of stuff, because they slap sanctions on you to keep you from moving forward, to keep you from progressing. They just use a fancy word like sanctions to make it appear as though they're doing something so very profound, so very fair, when it's a political maneuver. That's all it is. We're going to hold you back. Sanction you. Correction, sanction you. Because they can't say hold you back. So they just say sanction. They pretty it up. That's how they do many things. For those of you joining us late, I'm going to show you what the guy said here. So you have this guy here. General from the French army, General Francois Lecontier, he stated that Europe must come back and occupy Africa with armies, meaning recolonization. Isn't that something? And then you have right here Captain Ibrahim Traore. This is what he said. He says, they are preparing their people to accept when they decide to recolonize Africa. Ain't that something? See, right now, they are working because they know that the earth has been given into their hands. Right? They know that the earth has been given into their hands, but the Most High is about to snatch it out of their hands. Read the book. Read the book. The Bible tells you in so many places what the Most High is going to do. This is why I love Isaiah chapter 14. It tells you what is going on. Waker says, meanwhile, Africa is building a mega church that fits 10,000 people. Yeah, it's like we are focused on the wrong things, aren't we, family? Focused on the wrong things. These people try to come in and take over, and you building a mega church. Anyway, family, I think I need to go ahead and wrap this up, because there are some other things I need to get into, and I quite possibly want to come before you again later, before it gets too late, if time permits. But anyway, I thank you all. Thank you all for your time. I thank you for your comments and your interaction. Until the next live. And also, I want to thank my moderators for holding things down, keeping things tight in the chat, in the live chat. We really appreciate it. And those of you who gave us super chats or any type of thanks or whatever. Sometimes I see the thanks in the comments as well. We appreciate it. Thank you, family. I want you all to enjoy the rest of your evening. If I don't get a chance to come back before you, we will definitely see you on Shabbat, Most High willing, of course. And until the next live or the next video, I want you guys to stay prayed up. We hope you liked today's topic. Please leave your comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share it like this video, and with that, we're out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.